What's up, guys? Doomwake here, and welcome to another video on the channel. There is a new preview card that I wanted to discuss today. Now, I know we don't typically do that on the channel. I've done it sometimes in the past where we've kind of done like my top 5 or my top 10 for Pioneer, sometimes for Modern. But WotC has been doing kind of trickling previews throughout the course of the past weekend with the Magic 30th Anniversary and World Championship stream. And there was a particular preview that I could not make a video about this because this card is insane. It is going to likely warp at least Pioneer and possibly even trickle over into Modern. Now, it's going to be good in Modern. I don't know to what extent. There are certain decks that I think might play it, but specifically I want to talk about Pioneer because I know that's been the focus of the channel over the past couple of days. Spoiler alert, this is a reprint. It's not a new card, surprisingly. But without further ado, let's take a look and see what they reprinted. Alright, so here it is, Diabolic Intent. This is, I went ahead and put both images on the screen because the preview art was, the text on it is a little bit hard to read, so I wanted to make sure I put the original version, and also, nothing beats the original. Who are we kidding? But this card was originally printed in Plane Shift, and it reads, as you can see on your screen, black and a colorless, sorcery, as an additional cost to sacrifice, or additional cost to play, Diabolic Intent, worded as cast now, sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Yes, that's right, this is Demonic Tutor, with the additional cost that you have to sacrifice a creature. Now, why would they put this card into a standard legal format? I don't really know. Something tells me that I really don't know if they actually tested with this card, but it's ridiculous. So basically just being able to have a card that finds any card in your deck is incredibly powerful. There are decks that obviously rely on setting up A plus B, which is, they're trying to assemble a combo. This is essentially more copies of those combo pieces. But even at more of a base level, there's, certain more like mid-range slash value-oriented decks that don't really care about creatures going to the graveyard. Think a deck like Rakdos Sacrifice that has, a lot of extra random pieces floating around, or even with something like Wedding Announcement or Fable of the Mirror Breaker, especially in Standard. So there's plenty of ways to just put creatures into play that you basically got for free anyways, and having a 2-mana unconditional, basically demonic tutor, I don't really think that this is okay for Standard or Pioneer level play, and potentially even Modern level play. I haven't really thought about it too much in the context of Modern, but I have definitely thought a lot about it for Pioneer. So let's go ahead. I'm going to showcase you guys 2 decks that I am super excited to start playing once the new set becomes available. Alrighty, so here is the first one. This is Greasefang. So for those of you who don't know what Greasefang is, it's this card right here. Basically, it is a 4/3 that allows you to bring back vehicles from your graveyard, put them onto the battlefield, give them haste, attack your opponent. So the combo you're trying to assemble is you're trying to set up Greasefang plus Parhelion in the graveyard, which allows you to attack with the Parhelion because you get a 4-power creature with the Greasefang to crew. I'm sure you've seen this deck before. But what I want to go over here is obviously specifically Diabolic Intent in this deck. Now, previously versions of Greasefang were playing a card called Eldritch Evolution, which you might know from Modern. Green, 1, additional cost to cast, sacrifice a creature. You search your library for a creature with mana value equal to 2+, I think, or up to 2+ the mana value of the creature that you sacrifice, put it onto the battlefield. So it's a very similar card to that. What I will say is I think this card curves a lot nicer with, like, you can go turn 1 Supplier, turn 2 Intent, get the Greasefang. So there's less of a window for your opponent to interact with the Supplier, especially if they know that you're on, the Intent or the Eldritch Evolution. The other cool thing that Diabolic Intent does, so obviously it's great with Supplier because you're milling through with Supplier, you're getting the trigger when Supplier dies to get 3 more looks at a Parhelion, and then you can Diabolic Intent for the Greasefang and set it up on turn 3. That's obviously very powerful. The other cool thing that Diabolic Intent does that specifically Eldritch Evolution didn't do was it's good in your backup plan because it gets Azeka's Chariot. Now, sometimes these Greasefang decks were playing cards like Shieldred in the sideboard to be able to search for with Eldritch Evolution, But specifically against Rakdos, Chariot, I think, is a lot harder to answer because it requires more answers. Like, they have to answer the Chariot and then also be able to answer the 2/2/2s. The other cool thing about Intent is it also finds sideboard cards, something like an Abrupt Decay or another way to answer something like a Leyline or a Rest in Peace. Eldritch Evolution could do that, but you had to play Knight of Autumn. The fact that Intent gets to, I think it's a little bit more flexible in terms of what it offers. And then also, post-sideboard, being able to search up Fatal Push, being able to search up Thoughtseize if you're protecting against a counterspell, it's just kind of unmatched in what it does. So I personally think that this card is going to be completely insane in Greasefang, and that's the first place that I want to give this card a shot. Let's look at the second one. All right, so the second one is an old favorite of mine, a deck that I have been playing for, I've been playing this deck for probably about a month and a half, close to 2 months now at this point, and this is Rakdos Sacrifice. Now, Rakdos Sacrifice is, a deck that people have been playing, but maybe have kind of fallen out of favor a little bit because, the Devotion matchup is quite poor. You can imagine if you're trying to set up Witch's Oven with some blood tokens or some treasure tokens off of Fable, and your opponent has a Karn the Great Creator, you're not going to have a good time. So the cool thing that Diabolic Intent does, previously almost all these lists have been playing 1 copy of Eaten Alive. Diabolic Intent essentially gives you 5 copies of that, because you can basically sacrifice a creature, search for the Eaten Alive the Karn, go about your business, which is very powerful. Same with stuff like Kalitas. You obviously have tons of things to sacrifice. You don't really care about sacrificing Familiar. You kind of actively want to sacrifice Unlucky Witness, so that's pretty powerful. And then you have some other one-drops here, like, Voldaren Epicure. You can also claim the Firstborn into Diabolic Intent, which is really messed up. And it also allows you to play a lot more of these kind of Silver Bullet cards. Like, you'll notice this is kind of just my initial list. This is, obviously, I'm going to be testing these 2 decks quite a bit once the set is live on Magic Online, but this is kind of my initial pass. Like, you get to play 1 Shieldred, 1 Braids, 1 Fable, 1 Karyazev's Expertise. These cards are all super powerful in their own right, and they have situations of being very, very good, but you don't want to play a ton of copies because, again, they are very situational, and Diabolic Intent allows you to play effectively 5 copies of all of those cards without clogging your deck with dead draws, because when that card's not good, you just get something else with Diabolic Intent. Also, there are several matchups where Mayhem Devil is far and away your best card against, like, the small creature decks, mono white, elves, goblins, anything like that. You just get Mayhem Devil, play it on turn 3, and kind of just, free roll it from there, essentially. It also finds the other half of your Oven Cat combo if you're missing that. You can also just turn it into a draw 2 with Deadly Dispute. It's just like, I actually think that maybe the more than I think about it, I initially thought Greasefang was going to be my favorite home for this card, but I think this might actually be my favorite home in the deck that I maybe spend a little bit more time on, especially with the Atlanta coming up, because Pioneer is the format for Atlanta, and Brothers War is going to be legal. And this card, I know that there might be some accessibility issues with Brothers War cards coming into Atlanta because the set's only going to be out for, I believe, a week, if I remember correctly. But this is a reprint, so you can buy copies of this right now, and I think you should, because I think this card is going to be completely insane. I would be hard-pressed to find myself not registering this card. It just seems out of control to me. Yeah, that's kind of all I got. I feel like I've kind of conveyed my thoughts pretty well. What I want to hear from is, what do you think of Diabolic Intent? Is this card out of bounds for Pioneer? Is it out of bounds for Standard? Is it too powerful for Modern? What is Wizards thinking? Give me your thoughts. I really want to know what you guys think about Diabolic Intent. Are you in love with it as much as I am? Because I think this card is going to be completely insane, and I'm going to say it right now, I would not be surprised if this did not survive the next ban announcement for Pioneer. So with all of that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.